Matt Rule just does not have a clue on how to run an offense.
Luke Getsky should be fired. He should be fired today.
I'll stand by you. My God. Bro, you got smoke.
Welcome to FaZe Fantasy Live with your host, Lonnie Z.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is FaZe Fantasy Live, and I'm your host, Lonnie Z. Today with me is my partner in crime, Jake Hansen. What's going on, Jake? How are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing good, Lonnie. How's it going?
It's good, man. It's good. We thought we were in the money yesterday. So close, and yet so far. We're in the top 10, kind of lingering around, trying to make that push for that 10,000. And then just the day took a turn, man. Some guys shit the bed, for a lack of a better term, right? They just shit the bed. And so when that happens, your whole team kind of takes a dump. And we'll get into that. But we're here to recap week 4's games. The Monday night games and stuff are tonight. Check out our preview. We've already done the preview for that, so check out our preview for tonight's Monday night games. But let's just jump right into it. First game on the slate was the Vikings-Packers. There was a lot of hype about this game. Aaron Jones' revenge game. Vikings get the win 31-29. What was the fantasy stats in this game, Jake? Who stood out to you, and who was really balling out in this game?
Jordan Love led the game with 34 fantasy points. Pretty surprising with throwing 3 picks, but yeah, he had the 34. Jaden Reed led the receivers with 26, and tight ends Tyler Kraft. So Vikings win. Green Bay pretty much led on all of the positions other than running back Aaron Jones, 15. But Sam Darnold, for the way Sam Darnold looked, 275, 3 touchdowns, scored 21 fantasy points. So Sam is, somebody to keep looking at in the upcoming weeks. Next week, it kind of screws everybody with them playing at 6:30 because they're not really in there. I think they're in their own slate. They're in their own slate.
Right.
So, Love led, but the Vikings won. That's what we thought. They were up 28-zip, but they played that prevent to win defense, and Green Bay came back a little bit, but Minnesota won, and it was a good game.
Yeah, it was a good game. Jordan Addison had 21 points, which was surprising.
Jordan Addison had 21.
He was a real good value.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Sam Darnold was a good value. Once again, for FanDuel, Sam Darnold's starting to look like a guy if you want a cheaper quarterback, but he's not that cheap anymore. He's 7,300 this week. So he's not quite elite, but he's getting you 20 points. It's like stable, And then JJ Jets, who he wants to be called, Justin Jefferson, had 17.5 points. Yeah, it looks like everyone came out of that game okay, except for Christian Watson. Once again, he goes down. And I'm with you. I was surprised with Jordan Love had 30 plus points, fantasy points, but he threw 4 touchdowns with 3 interceptions, made the Viking defense look vulnerable. But I kind of feel like they just went to, like you said, prevent to win. They just kind of went to sleep the second half thinking, oh, we got this in the bag. You can't ever do that in the NFL. So, yeah, Christian Watson, though, it's whatever with him. He's always hurt. Denver and the Jets, man. Now, this is the game that pissed me off and a lot of fantasy. If we're looking at, and we're going to start focusing a little bit more on FanDuel and really specialize in FanDuel. I know a lot of shows do a lot of DraftKings. There's not a ton of shows out there that do FanDuel. We prefer or play FanDuel more than we do DraftKings. And so we really specialize in certain tournaments in DraftKings, in FanDuel. So we're going to the show's going to start taking that turn where we're focused a little bit more on this, and we'll do redraft stuff too and help out for waiver wire and things like that. But in FanDuel, if you picked Breece Hall, or even if he was on your redraft team, you're pissed. You woke up this morning pissed, and you were pissed yesterday. You probably had a couple of shots of something. I mean, right? So what was the fantasy impact of this game, Jake?
Aaron Rodgers, 11, led the quarterbacks. Javonte Williams, 9. Braylon Allen led the Jets with 5 fantasy points. Cortland Sutton led the receivers with 13. Conklin, 3. If you're a betting man, if you're doing sports book, Jets, Denver, you're looking at the under. Depends who you're really playing, but they're bad. They're not scoring points. Denver's hasn't scored anything really too much easy or too much crazy yet either. That's pretty much Denver. McLaughlin had 5 fantasy points. No tight end at all. The Jets, Mike Williams with 8 and Lazard with 8. It's tough right now. Breece Hall had 2 fantasy points. 2.5. That's rough. I guess there's nobody on the Jets. I know a couple weeks ago when the Jets played Tennessee and he had a couple touchdowns, Aaron Rodgers, and I think I'm fading anybody on the Jets offense right now. It's like we talked about, like we said, we're just going to, Breece Hall's going to get his, but he ain't going to be on our roster when he gets his.
That's
not
true.
Right now. Not right now.
I mean, Breece had 10 carries for 4 yards. Dude, that's disgusting. I'm disgusted. I can only imagine. I saw an article. It said Jets fans boo Breece Hall and want him benched. I mean, those New York fans are crazy, bro. But they're 10 carries for 4 yards.
He usually gets like 5-6 catches a game too. Nothing.
Yeah,
1 catch, I think 2 catches. Nothing.
I don't know, man. Maybe he's a little salty that Braylon Allen is even in the mix, because this is Breece Hall. If you just use him 20 carries a game, he's going to do it for you. Mm-hmm. But shoot, at 20 carries a game, he'd have got 8 yards.
Hey, if they don't want Breece Hall, if I was the Raiders trade, I would just go Devontae to the Jets so he could play with Aaron, and Breece Hall to the Raiders. Straight up.
Right.
Jets don't want to use them. They want to use Braden Allen. Get rid of them. I mean, what's the point?
And it's looking like the Aaron Rodgers experiment is not working, because it's look like a shit show over there, bro. And we've been saying it though since last year. Saleh should be out of there. He should have been out of there last year. Why they keep hanging on to this guy, I have no clue. You get all these offensive weapons. What a moron the owner is. You get all these offensive weapons and defensive weapons that they have, and you don't bring an offensive coordinator in here that knows how to use these guys, or an offensive-minded coach. Morons, bro. The Jets are in bad shape. They won't win 10 games. They won't win 7 games this year, bro. At this pace, they look bad. They look real bad. They need to figure it out. They need to figure it out right away. If I'm a Jets fan, I'm pissed, bro. I'm really pissed. All right,
that game they should have won.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then Denver misses a field goal, and the Jets have a chance to win it with the field goal. Yeah, so it's whatever. Here's the entertaining game: Saints, Falcons. The Falcons showed you how to win a game at the last seconds with the field goal. They get it done, 24-26. What was going on in this game from the fantasy perspective?
You play the Falcons defense. You were happy. 17 points. You were happy.
Yes.
You won. Like, we looked at back and all the winners on our big leagues for FanDuel, they had Atlanta's defense. Pretty much everyone I think we looked at 2 different leagues. They had Atlanta's defense. So Olave, let me start back at the quarterback. Derek Carr, nowhere to be found. First 2 games, but the real Derek Carr stood up the last 2 weeks. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. 9 fantasy points. Kirk Cousins still hasn't found his niche. 8 fantasy points. Kamara, not bad game. 21 fantasy points. Bijan, 9. Bijan was battling carries with touches with Algier. I don't know why all of a sudden they're doing that. Olave still hasn't, he had 10 targets, 8 receptions, but 12 fantasy points. Drake London, 9. Pitts, it pissed me off. 0. Goose egg. Crazy. I just don't know. And Taysom Hill had 14. But Taysom Hill is a flip of a coin every week. You never know how they're going to use him. But Derek Carr is back to what Derek Carr was. It's crazy to me. I don't know what happened, but Atlanta's defense led everybody this week though. They had the highest. Yeah. They had more points. Atlanta's defense had more points than anybody on this game. single
Yeah.
on this game.
Well, I will say something about with the Derek Carr thing. They had some injuries on that line. Like 2 of their starting offensive linemen were out, and that does really make a difference when you have Judon and those guys on the other side trying to get to the quarterback. So, but you're right. We called it. The first 2 games were anomaly, 40+ point games. I mean, especially the Dallas Cowboy game. Dallas just they were Dallas in that game. They had one of those Dallas-like games. So yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe some organizations we have to look at the owners. Arthur Blank, maybe he just cannot pick personnel well. I mean, not players, because they draft good quality players, but coaches. He goes and runs Raheem Morris out there.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, Raheem Morris was happy after this game. I see, because they got the win, but his team. I guess I look at teams and I think, can this team really contend and get deep into the playoffs? That's how I look at teams. I don't give a shit about we won a 26-24 team against a New Orleans team that is struggling and we barely got out of our home, barely winning that game, and I'm all happy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man, because they're doing, it's almost looking like Arthur Smith is back there, the way that they're running their personnel. Where was Drake London? Where the hell was Drake London? 6 receptions, 64 yards. Okay, he got 6 receptions. That means he must have got, about at least 10 targets, which that's good. But they're not getting these guys free, so I don't know.
I just don't see how Pitt gets 0.
Exactly.
I mean, but Cousins a different quarterback. You think he would get him the ball either way. It doesn't matter in scheme or not. But just, I don't know. Maybe Pitt's not getting open.
Bro, the Vikings will give him a 7th round pick for Pitts. I mean, that's what he's been worth, right? Maybe a 6th or 7th round pick his career, because we know he's talented. They just don't use him right, so his value is nothing. So, hey, maybe the Vikings should call up, give him a 7th rounder for Pitts, get Pitts over
Hawk
there,
coming back.
and then when Hawk comes back, then you move Pitts outside a little bit, baby.
Yeah.
O'Connell could figure this out, and there's the homer in me. We haven't even been into this for 15 minutes yet, and I'm already homering it up. But at least I didn't do it during the Vikings segment. We've already passed that one. Okay, the next game, man, Philadelphia and the Buccaneers. I think we both went Buccaneers on this one.
Mm-hmm.
We have to rewind the tape, but I think we did both go Buccaneers. I had a last second gut before we put our team together, and some stats that showed Baker owned him the last time, and man, we should have listened to that gut. I should have really pushed on that one. My bad, brother. But this is a good game. This was a fantasy game. If you had the Buccaneers in your lineup, so what was the numbers on this one?
Baker 31 points would have put us in the money. It's you get a little sour about stuff like that too, because we played him the week before and he straight the bed, him and Evans. So sometimes you get that in your chest, like we ran with Evans 3 weeks in a row, and he did something on the last week, on the third week.
Yeah.
So you sometimes you get that in your head. 31 fantasy points. Baker 347 yards. Jalen Hurts 16 fantasy points. Struggling without his receivers. Barkley 12 fantasy points for the price he was. That was a loss. That was
9,700, right?
9,700 for 12
Yeah.
fantasy points. That's a loss. Bucky Irvin did play 49 yards rushing, 10 carries, 12 points, had a touchdown. Mike Evans 19 fantasy points. Paris Campbell led the Eagles with 9, but only 17 yards, and Goddard with his price, that was a loss. 9 fantasy points. I mean, he was worth 72 for a tight end. That's pretty bad. And Cade Otton finally he's getting in with 8. Philly, Dotson, nothing. John Ross third, nothing. Johnny Wilson, nothing. Hurts was having just a hard time without his receivers, man. And I think we did pick Tampa Bay. And Baker had a great game.
Yeah, he did. He seems to match it well against the Eagles, man, for some reason. Mm-hmm. He just does. So, and Sirianni, man, he's got to be on the hot seat this year. Because those Philly fans don't play. We know that they're some of the harshest fans in the league. and they have a loud voice. I mean, their owner really takes to heart when those fans start rumbling. And Sirianni, they're expecting Super Bowl or bust from this guy. And right now, it's looking like bust. They don't
The
look
way
like a
their
Super Bowl
defense,
team.
no, their defense ain't playing of what they have on paper. Not even close. That they have
Yeah.
4 or 5 Georgia boys up front in the middle. They're
Yeah,
not.
bro.
They're not looking anything like people thought.
Nope. But I think everyone came out of that okay. AJ Brown.
Still, yeah.
Did he play in that game?
No, AJ and Devontae were out, so
We're
I didn't
still-
see no
okay,
other
out.
injuries.
Yeah,
I didn't see no
that's right.
injuries on that game.
So yeah. Okay. Bengals, Panthers. The Panthers look a lot better with the red rifle under center. I mean, they made this a game. Jamar Chase balled out on that one play. It was incredible. Cincinnati got off the schneid, like we said that they had to.
Schneider.
You know, Zach Taylor, his butt's on the hot seat. What was going on in this game from fantasy perspective?
Andy Dalton, 16 fantasy points, 220. He's a veteran quarterback, man. He knows how to play the game. I mean, this when we come up about the Colts, we're going to say the same thing about Flacco. Play the game. Right. These rookies, these youngsters, you see a big difference. Chuba's still rolling. I think he knows Jonathan Brooks is coming, and he's just trying to keep his job. Deontay Johnson, again, 13 targets, 7. I like Deontay this week. I'll like him next week. 17 points. Legette, I had a feeling about him. 16 points, 10 targets. I just like Legette. I think I just like to say Legette. Just trying to be French or something. Joe Burrow, only 17 points. Thought he had a little more. Chase Brown
finally had a game.
Split the carries with Moss, but he hit it. 22 fantasy points, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yes, stop right there. Chase Brown, like you just said, finally split the carries, and we're seeing head to head. And we've been crying this from the rooftops that he's going to take that game. I've been saying by week 6 he should be the lead back there, or at least by half the season. But by week 6, I think he should be. And this week was a perfect example of he looks so much more fresh. I know he's younger. I know he's faster, but he looks like you have a real running back there. If they just reverse those roles, man, and let him start games and play 3 downs, and then on certain series, then you put in for a rest, you come in with Zach Moss. I think that's the way that they get that running game back energized, because he looked good yesterday. I know he got all those fantasy points, and so we're all happy about that, but he did look good. T kind of shit the bed a little bit.
I had 10,
what do you have?
10 targets, 6 receptions, 9 fantasy points. 10 targets, so Chase always
still there.
So Burrow always goes to Higgins. Always. He's always going to get a bunch of targets. Reception wise, yeah, you're right. He didn't get what we thought.
And after the catch, yak. You know what I'm saying? He's not being. You got 6 receptions, but what are you doing with? You only got 8 fantasy points or something like that. 9 fantasy points.
Yeah, it
wasn't much.
It was a 10-yard average. It was nothing crazy. But
yeah,
Cincinnati won. They needed to win that game.
They did. That was a good win for them.
And Gesicki shit the bed with 5,600 price point and got point minus 0.4.
Well, they still have never been a great tight end team.
No,
Every now and then they'll run him out there and
well, that's why I like T.
plays
Higgins,
for him.
because that's why they use T. Higgins a lot. He's a big middle receiver, and I think that's more their tight end right there.
What did Loshovich do? Just out of curiosity, what did he have?
A Cive or whatever. He actually had 1 catch.
Ilisovas or whatever. One catch, 29 yards.
Yep, 1 catch. One point.
1 target.
2 points.
29 yards. Okay. The next game, Houston at the Jaguars. I feel like maybe we both took Houston, but I feel like I was saying I thought the Jaguars and Peterson were going to come in and get an upset. I don't know.
Maybe.
It doesn't really matter much.
It
turned out to be a real competitive game. Like we thought it was going to be competitive at least, because there's no way Peterson could. He's 0-4 now. His butt's got to be on the hot seat. We got what we needed out of Stroud. Nico, once again, was Nico just tearing it up. One of the best. He is now. You've got to start talking about Nico Collins as a top 3 in all of football, not just fantasy, but just receiver. I mean, you got to start talking about him with just Jefferson, Chase, Nico. I mean, it's kind of like that. You know what I'm saying? You start talking, when you start talking CD, those, you got to start putting his name in with those guys, bro, because he's just, last year he did it, and this year he's doing it. What were the fantasy points in this game? And I know there's a lot of them, but go ahead, break that down for us, brother.
CJ, 26 points. Lawrence, 14. D. Ogunalaway, 13 for running backs. Led Houston running backs for 13 points. That was probably because of the catch, touchdown. Bigsby, 9. Etienne Jr. got hurt in the beginning of the game. Nico, 30 points, 15 targets, 12 receptions, 151 yards. Nico
killed it.
You're playing Nico every week until I just don't know why you would not. Chalk,
right?
But he's going to get some. Kirk, we had Kirk in the lineup, did really well. 12 targets, 7 receptions. So Brian Thomas and Kirk, they're going to both of them. They did this past week, for sure. Brian Thomas had 9 targets this week. So, and then Dalton Schultz, tight end, still not. He had 4 fantasy points, and Houston's defense only had 2. Diggs had 16 fantasy points.
Nice.
69 yards, 9 targets. So Houston did what I thought that won the game. Stroud looked good. Stroud looked good. He finally looked good. It took him a little bit, though. I think it was the first, right at the first quarter, it was Stroud had to do nothing. I was like, oh, shoot. There we go again. And Diggs had a rush, right? Yeah, Diggs had a rushing touchdown.
Yes, he did.
And I was like, oh, man.
First of his career.
Then,
he only had 5 receptions for 69 yards. So everything really, it is Nico's team. If anyone was wondering, no, this is Nico's team. 100%. Him and Stroud are in tune with each other. To back up on that Jamar Chase game real quick, he only had 16 points, even with that big old fantasy points, even with that big old run. So the value really was not there, what you had to pay for Chase and what you got out of him. 16 points is okay, but that's like his bottom line that you would, want to get out of him. But yeah, Houston. So Houston gets the win. They go to 3-1. And with CJ Stroud, I think they're trying to figure out this whole offense. Joe Mixon hasn't been there for a couple of games, but they're trying to figure out with Diggs in there how they're going to operate. Tank Dell got hurt, and it seemed that almost free CJ up a little bit. Like he's not worried about getting Tank.
That's what I was saying.
So
like last week on the pre-game, remember I said, man, just go out there and just like you're at the park throwing the ball around. Remember I said that?
Yep.
Don't worry about who has to catch the ball. Don't worry about this and that. If Diggs keeps his mouth shut and Nico hasn't said nothing, if they just go out and just play ball, they're going to be fine.
Exactly. All right. Pittsburgh and Indianapolis. We both had Indianapolis in this game, and we knew that the Steelers, the way they play football, people say defensive wins championships, and it does, but it has to be elite defense, and you have to be able to stop elite teams. And Pittsburgh's defense is good, but they haven't played no one. We've been saying that. They've played no one. They were 3-0, and they have played no one to start the season. So, okay, it looks like they're great. Well, they came up against a team that has some offensive firepower when they want to, and they end up losing this game. It was a tight one. Justin Fields had a great game, though, and that's got to, make Steeler fans feel a little better. Even Pickens, 7 receptions, 113 yards. I think he did, well. What was the fantasy stuff on this? But before we get into that, Anthony Richardson exited the game with a hip injury. He left the game, came back, and then left it again. And he keeps saying, I'm not going to change my style. Well, young man, you may want to change your style or you're not going to be long for the NFL. NFL, not for long. If you keep playing like that, brother, I mean, you've got to.
And he started off as a quarterback. He started off pretty good, Lonnie. He started off good this game, bro. 3 or 4, 71 yards.
Yep.
He was averaging 23 yards a pass. He had 5 fantasy points in the he got hurt in the first quarter. Right, second quarter, and yeah, he was starting to he was not doing bad. Don't know how it would have ended up, but he wasn't starting doing bad at all. Fields led the whole game with 34 fantasy points. Flacco came in. That's the thing. Flacco comes in, veteran, knows what he has to do. The passing game looked a lot better. Jonathan Taylor looked good on the ground till he got hurt. Jonathan Taylor would have had over 100 yards.
Yep.
Flacco had 15 fantasy points. Jonathan Taylor had 18. He would have had a lot more before he got hurt. Najee, nowhere to be. It's pretty rough watching Najee, man.
It is, especially he's from our hometown, bro. He's from right where we're from, and so we're always rooting for Najee. But yeah, man, it's tough.
It's not looking good. He got some passes, but 19 yards off 13 carries. Cordell looked a lot better than him until he got kind of a little banged up, I guess. But he had 8 fantasy points. Joshua Downs, I like the kid. I've been talking about the kid. 9 targets, 8 receptions, 18 fantasy points. Pittman Jr. finally got out, 113 yards, 17 fantasy points. Pickens had a good game, 11 targets, 15 fantasy points. If Fields keeps going the way he's going, Pickens will be a good play. Fairmouth had a good game, touchdown, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 14 fantasy points. Yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, that's pretty much on that side. Cordell had 7 fantasy points, had 43 yards off 6 carries. Pittsburgh's defense didn't play bad. It just when Flacco came in, he opened up the offense a lot. Only worries I would have right now with Pittsburgh is the running game. They have to figure out when Warren gets back. I think they need to give Warren more of the carries just to see what he can do because they keep splitting. Every time Warren's in, they split. I don't know why they don't let Warren just give him a chance to see what he does for starting and getting most of the carries because
it can't hurt for real. I mean,
it won't hurt. It's kind of crazy. It's a little crazy what they're doing, but
that's that game was one of those games where you knew it was going to be kind of smash mouth. It was good to see Justin Fields playing the way he plays football, man.
Yep.
I mean, he's just if you're going to coach this guy, you just got to know. You got to let him loose. You have to. He's not a drop back passer, although he's trying to get better, and he has gotten better at it. Fields, man, I got a lot of respect for Fields, man. He wasn't put in the ideal situation with the Bears and that horrible coaching staff. He's in a much better situation now because I think Tomlin really cares about players and coaching them up the right way. Tomlin's going to find exactly how to use this guy, and he's going to have Arthur Smith use him in that capacity, I believe.
Yeah, so 2 touchdowns, 55 rushing yards too.
Yeah, he led the team in rushing, and that's what Fields is. And so Tomlin's, I think, this is a perfect situation for Fields. We're only going to see him get better. Now, we may not see him get 30 points each week in fantasy, but he's going to be one of those quarterbacks we can start really looking at every week. We're going to have to look at him when we're picking. Real quick follow-up before we get off this game. Richardson, when asked about his hip after the game, he noted, "I'm feeling a little sore, but I'm feeling good," while adding that it was a mutual decision between him and the team to not return to Sunday's contest. In any case, he says he'll take it day to day ahead of Week 5 action. He's not sure if he's going to be available next week, and if he's not, I think that it's okay with the way that team is built. Joe Flacco's perfect, man. He's perfect because even Pittman had a better game this week than he has. Pittman looked like, okay, finally he had a decent game, So,
well, Jonathan Taylor is out too. They don't know. He has a high ankle sprain. It's a mild one. They said it's more mild as what he has had before, but nobody knows. They said if he doesn't play, we Trey Sermon starting that game next week.
That's tough, bro. Because Trey Sermon, you know all too well, Trey Sermon is not a starter. He's like a spot. He's like you need a couple of downs off. Okay, Trey, go in there for 2 plays. That's Trey Sermon, man. If you're running him out there, you're in trouble. Okay, but overall, very entertaining game. It was what it was. Let's get into the next game. But that's a big thing. Anthony Richardson, man, he's got to stay healthy for his team's sake. He has to, bro. That's just not. He's got to change his ways. Because you're right. He was 3 or 4 starting off the game, looking good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Rams and the Bears. I don't even want to get started on this game. From a fantasy perspective, it had a lot of promise, but it fizzled out quick. What was the fantasy impact of this game?
Caleb Williams, 11 fantasy points, 157 yards. He didn't do nothing wrong. Their game plan was just do enough to win. I guess, I don't know. You're playing the worst rushing, the worst passing defense in the league, and that's all you get. Matt Stafford, 5 fantasy points. Swift had 26 fantasy points, 16 carries, 93 rushing yards. Kieran Williams, another touchdown, 18 fantasy points. Atwell, 10. DJ Moore, 9.7. He led the Bears receivers with 22 receiving yards. So that's crazy. 6 targets. Parkinson, tight end for the Rams, 7 targets, 5. He had 4 receptions, or 3 receptions for DJ. I mean, we go down the line. Keenan Allen came back. Everybody was high on him. 3 targets, 3 receptions, 19 yards. Rome had 1 catch. Commit had 3 catches, 34 yards. Rams side, nothing on the receiving side, but Atwell. Whittington had 8 targets, but 9 fantasy points. Yeah, Rams are hurting on offense. A good thing they squeezed one out against the Niners last week because they're not looking too good. I mean, the Niners gave them that cookie. On the Bears side, that's just crazy with me about Williams. He's not the best rookie quarterback right now. He is not. That's the thing.
No,
he is not. As of right now, he is not winning the Rookie of the Year.
No
way,
bro. There's so many guys ahead of him right now that
There's
we
no way.
can start talking about. Here's the thing. Rome Odunze's dad sent out some either tweets or Instagram, and it was showing all the times that he was open and Caleb missed him.
Really?
This was before last week's game.
Oh my!
Last week, Rome goes off. They fix that shit. Everything is better. This week, bro, I don't know if his dad. I text Chris during the game. Rome's dad's gonna be. Maybe it's in our group chat.
Yeah, it was.
I texted Rome's dad's gonna be hitting Insta again because Caleb's missing Rome when he's wide open, and he had a couple of really bad throws that Rome was wide open. So Caleb's not doing himself any favors. 17 of 23, 157 yards. It could have been 18 of 23 with 200 yards if he drops this dime like he should. So he's missing some wide open targets. And you're right. He's still learning. He's going to be okay. We keep saying that. It's only 4 weeks in. He'll be fine. But the Bears play an ugly football, man. They do. Mm-hmm. And they haven't played anyone of significance yet. They're 2-2. When their schedule starts heating up a little bit, if they win 8 games this year, I'm gonna be shocked. I'll be honest. That's to me their plateau. They're gonna win 8 games max, if that, and that's it. They'll be getting another good draft pick next year as long as Eberflus is there. And I know all the Bears fans are hyped up about all these people they brought in, but they need to study character then because. And, Keenan Allen, this experiment so far is not working well. He comes in out of shape. He's hurt instantly. And then as soon as he comes back, they stop using DJ Moore. They're going to piss DJ Moore off, bro. If they don't use him more and get him the ball, because he's averaged 10 plus targets in every game. I think maybe he had 8 in the first game or something like that. But he's getting targets until this game. He only got 6 targets. They're going to piss him off because he's much better than what they're using him for. They need to use DJ Moore more. And they're saying he needs to get more separation. You just need to be more creative in your game plan for him. And we're saying, he can't run. They can't run. They ran against the weakest run defense in the league. Of course, even DeAndre Swift can have a game every now and then. So the Bears are in trouble, man. They're still in trouble. I'm not being a homer. I'm not being an NFC North homer. The Bears, I'm calling it what it is. They're in trouble. They are in trouble. And they need to fix that coaching situation quick, or else the Bear fans, if the Bears fans are happy with 2-2, good. Be happy. Because this is not going to last for very long, doing it this way with this team. All right. There's my little rant on the Bears and Eberflus. I got to get that in. Every podcast, I have to get that off my chest. And I want the Bears fans to come up in here. Let me know that I'm just being a homer or I'm being a jerk. And then tell me why your team's so great. We can have a discussion about that. All right. Commanders and Cardinals. Now, this team has a quarterback. They have a rookie quarterback. This kid is one of the best quarterbacks in football right now. Someone got in a chat with me the other day and said he's the best, not just the best rookie quarterback, he's the best quarterback in the league. I can't argue too much the way the league's going. I mean, no one's better than Mahomes. If you're just looking at, Mahomes, I think, is still the alpha in the NFL. But man, this kid is pretty badass. Washington gets the win, 42-14. They move up to 3-1, and the Cardinals are 1-3. They've played everyone kind of tough until this week. They got blown out, and then last week they didn't look good either. 3 games out of the 4 are at home. They're going to have trouble moving forward on the road a lot. What was the fantasy stats in this one?
Kyler 9, Jaden Daniels 30, Brian Robinson 21 fantasy points. Good game. Connors had a good game too. We talked about it. Jaden Daniels had 26 of 30 for 233 yards. 26 of 30, four drops, man, or four misses. That's crazy. That's crazy. Brian Robinson went 101 yards. Connor, great game. McLaren 14 points, touchdown, 10 targets. Marvin Harrison had a touchdown. He had 13 fantasy points, but nothing else. The Cardinals tight ends were nowhere to be found. Ertz had 5 fantasy points. Fantasy wise, Daniels is one of the top probably 2-3 quarterbacks right now. Fantasy wise, Mahomes, his fantasy wise is not there. I don't think Mahomes even scored over 20 points this year yet on fantasy. But Murray, I don't know. Cardinals are a little in trouble. We'll see what happens when they play Niners this week, and then they're going to be on the road for a while. But I think this is the Murray year that they got to figure out if he's going to be on the team next year. If they want him, they're paying him a lot of money. And I don't know. Yesterday, that surprised me. Like, we were talking about doing a Murray roster, and I'm glad we didn't. Not like we won anything. Yeah. I mean, we won with Daniels. We won our money back and more and some. So,
yeah.
Daniels looking really good on his feet, arm. There's nothing to complain about. And Washington smoked them. And I picked Washington. I think we both did.
And his decision making has been
he's not making a lot of mistakes or nothing.
No, and Kingsbury got a little shine.
Yeah,
I mean, he got a game ball after the game, and he was happy to come in there and just put a whooping on his whole team, man. I mean, he put a whooping on them, bro.
And the thing is, Kingsbury had Murray at the rookie year, and to me, Jalen looks better than when Kyler was a rookie. I don't know if he's doing something different because he had Kyler, but he looks better than when Kyler was a rookie to me.
Yeah, I agree. They said Kingsbury had to go reinvent himself, man. That he had to learn. So he went to USC for a couple seasons, and then now he's with Washington. But he had to go all the way backwards to reinvent himself and relearn how to deal on a NFL level. And so far it's looking good. Him and the head coach
Quinn
are looking really good working together with that team. every week they seem to be getting a little better. Obviously, they're not playing against a great competition here with the Cardinals, but they did what they're supposed to do against the Cardinals, 42-14. So you can't blame them for just being that good, blowing them out.
No, I
Okay.
think that people are putting the Cardinals a little bit higher than they should. I think Cardinals are 1-3 now. I think they're having them a little higher than they should after that win against the Rams. Kyler is not looking good at all. Like I said, we'll see what he looks like against the Niners this week in San Francisco, but there has to be a worry there. There has to be. He misses too many throws, man. He misses a lot of throws.
Yeah,
like ugly.
James Conner, he had a decent game. 18 carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown. He still got gas in the tank.
Great game.
They need to really put this thing together. And you're right, Kyler is the catalyst. So it's either the play calling or it's just Kyler's style, man. It's hit or miss. They need some consistency there. Okay, New England and San Francisco. So the Patriots go into the Bay. They get whooped. Like we said, we knew this was going to happen. This had to happen. The Niners had to beat them like this. It couldn't be a close game. It couldn't be none of that. Debo came back. Jordan Mason, 24 carries, 123 yards, a touchdown. We said Mason was going to have a big game against this defense. Purdy, only one touchdown, with the one interception. That kind of surprised me a little bit. Could have been scripted a little bit. Jennings led the team again in receptions, 3 receptions, 88 yards. From fantasy's perspective, what was up with this game?
On the Niners side, Purdy had 15 fantasy points, just did enough to win. Like you said, it seemed like it was scripted at the end. Jordan Mason was he's up in the 8,000s now, but he had 26 fantasy points. He's a play every week. Jennings had that 50-yard pass at the end of the game, 10 fantasy points, but before that he didn't have nothing. He had 30 yards, but Debo, maybe because his calf, but he had 8 points. Ayuk still can't get it out of his own shadow right now, 5 points. Kittle had 12 points, 4-4, 45 yards, touchdown. Niners defense, 22 fantasy points. New England, Jacoby Brissett. I seen a thing today that they said that the coach said Brissett's 100% still our starting quarterback. And that's just a little – I mean, man, you drafted Drake May at 3. Brissett, come on, man. I don't, give it a chance. 19-32, come on. That's crazy. Janie Daniels, four draw. Even Kyler Murray only had four incompletions. Brissett, you have more than 13 incompletions. Come on, man. Antonio Gibson led. So we're talking about fantasy-wise. There's nobody to trust on New England right now. Nobody trusts on New England right now, like we were talking earlier. Nobody.
Not even Ramondre. Ramondre's fumbling the ball.
Points. Yep, fumbled again yesterday. 43 yards. Tight end wise, Hooper had 8 points on 2 catches, touchdown. On the Jets, the Denver offense wise, New England, no trust right now. There's no trust, and even Pittsburgh, Justin Fields, and maybe Pickens.
Yeah. All right, let's get off that game. Because the New England side's an ugly side, man.
Ugly.
For fantasy. I mean, it's just ugly. If you're a New England fan, you were in trouble when the day Brady left. That's when your troubles started. So this is all normal for you now. This is your life, New England. You had all those years with your run, and now this is your life until your owner either dies or figures it out. This is your life. Tom Brady ain't walking through that door. All right. The Browns and Vegas, the Raiders. The Raiders cleaned their stuff up, but the Browns are not a good team. They're just not. I don't care. They're just not a good team as long as Deshaun Watson is running things. And he had a great game for himself this week. It was one of his better games. The Browns are just not a very good team because the Raiders aren't a very good team. And I do like Antonio Pierce's statements after last week's game, though. He's like, a lot of guys out there made business decisions. And when a football player says that or a coach says, that means they were scared to get hit. They didn't want to take a hit. They didn't want to do the extra stuff that you're supposed to do, put your body out there, like short arming, coming across the middle, not making catches. sidestepping a running back who's going to run you over instead of going head up with them. Little things like that. And Antonio Pierce was a dog when he was a player.
Dog.
He never made a business decision. His business decision was, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to smash you into the ground. So for him to see that, he was probably pretty pissed. So the Raiders bounce back. They get a hard-fought win at the house. From fantasy perspective, how did that look? How did that play out yesterday?
Didn't look good at all, really, to be honest with you. Minshew, 5 fantasy points. Madison led the running backs with 6. Zamir White, 3 with 50 yards. They had to figure that out. Trey Tucker led the receivers with Devontae out. Dallas Turner had a touchdown, 7 points. Jacoby, 7. Bowers nowhere to be found. I know Bowers was chalk, right? Bowers was like owning over 30%.
We even said, "Hey, Bowers is the one."
Yeah,
your brother called again.
Yeah,
and we once again we lead him astray on a tight end, right?
Kincaid scored 10 points last night. Kincaid scored 10 last night, right?
Man, tell your brother, man, we're sorry, bro. Tell me. Tell him just listen to the podcast so we don't feel so bad when we personally tell him what to do and then it doesn't pan out.
Deshaun Watson, 13 fantasy points. Jerome Ford, 12. Judy, 10. Cooper, 5. That was it. Man. And tight end, Whitehart, 8. Yeah, really, it's just hard to take anybody on both those teams other than Devontae when he's back. Yeah, and Bowers is good too, but Bowers nothing. That's crazy, especially with their best receiver out. Minshew didn't go to Minshew's looking like he's looking shitty, bad.
Yeah, he's looking
like
bad.
I think it's time to. He's looking really bad. He doesn't look like the Minshew he used to slinging it, and he's looking really bad.
Maybe give O'Connell another shot, but O'Connell didn't look any better. But maybe give him another shot because he didn't look horrible. Aiden O'Connell, he didn't look horrible. Hey, before we get into this next game, which is Chiefs and Chargers, I want to say something about. Okay, I didn't put out a waiver wire for Week 4, and because the reason I didn't, just to let everyone know, is because if there's not real waiver wire pickups, I'm not going to waste your time and throw fool's gold out there. You can get a lot of waiver wire any week. You just go on YouTube, and there's plenty of guys who will have Jawan Jennings sitting there and saying, must add, things like that. I don't think Jawan Jennings is a must add. Jawan Jennings is not going to win you your league or lose you your league because soon as Debo comes back, that all changes. He had a one-off game. Obviously, it was a great game, but I'm not going to sit here and fill you with fool's gold and tell you should go get these guys each week. Jake and I, we try to keep it real. You know, we're just trying to keep it real. And if there's no real solution, we'll tell you what we think you can do. Like in this particular case, we're in the Chiefs Chargers. Rashee Rice went down. That's huge. Rashee Rice was turning into a top 3 fantasy wide receiver, top 5 for sure for the end of the year. People were projecting that he could even be fantasy, receiver 1, 2, or 3 based on how they were using him, the way his games were going. He goes out, friendly fire. Mahomes takes his ACL. We still don't know for sure. And if we hear that before this podcast ends, we'll let you know. But now, if I was going to say anything, I would say worthy owners, your stock has just risen exponentially. And Worthy showed that in that game. We were already high on Worthy anyway. Now it just takes away the competition between the two. Travis Kelce, you owners, your patience may be paying off. Even though Kelce looks slow, they will get him the ball more now that Rashee Rice is out, and he will start being a viable, at least, from activity-wise, attempt-wise, target-wise, tight end candidate again. But I'm not going to run out and say, that Kareem Hunt is a must-add. But you know what? He probably is when you think about it. He looked good in this last game. Still fumbled. They gave Steele a shot. I thought that Andy Reid may just use him. So from a volume perspective, Steele could have been a good pickup a couple weeks ago, and I did feature him in one of the videos. But, we're not just going to give you, just because a guy had a big game, oh, you must add. there's no clickbait with Phase Fantasy. We're not clickbaiting you. We're going to keep it real with you. We're going to be honest with you. If we wouldn't do that in our own redraft leagues, we're not going to tell you to run out and do that. So on some weeks, you may not get anything from us. We may not give you a video of waiver wires. We'll give you the injury report, but of waiver wires and things like that. You can hear everything, how we feel, what we think right here on this podcast. We're going to be real. We're going to keep it real with you. The big news was Rashee Rice went out. The Chiefs stay undefeated. They're 4-0, 17-10. It was a kind of a hard-fought game. They went on the road. They got it done. From a fantasy, what was up with this game, Jake?
Mahomes, 14 fantasy points, 245. Kareem Hunt led the running backs with 9 fantasy points, 69 yards. Sam Perine had 7 with the touchdown. Worthy had 14. Watson, Hardman, nothing. Kelsey, 12, 9 of 7. The best game he looked all year. And Noah Gray had a lot more receptions when Rice went out. Like Lonnie said, like with the waiver wire this week, there's nobody that I could point on the Chiefs and say, go get Schuster. Schuster didn't even play yesterday. Hardman.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't pick up Hardman.
No,
The thing is, like Hunt, okay, but Hilaire's coming back practice this week. That's your own decision.
Yeah.
We don't know anything else. Hunt led the running backs, and then that's it. We have no clue what they're going to do. Is Hilaire going to start? Probably not, but he's going to be in there. Herbert, he's been banged up, ankle, 11 fantasy points. Dobbins, he hasn't done nothing in 2 weeks. He played 2 good defenses. He can't do nothing. McConkey had his first had a touchdown, 15 fantasy points, and tight end Disley had 3. Chargers had that game in the beginning, just like they did with Steelers, up 10-0 at the half. After the half, they can't score a touchdown. They can't score a point in the second half. They lost. Chargers cannot score. They cannot. They have no offense right now.
Yeah. That's very well said, bro. Yeah, it's a crapshoot. If you're looking to replace Rashee Rice, you can't look to that team. That's for sure. You're going to have to look and trade, and you're going to have to hope that someone like, a Quentin Johnston that maybe people haven't picked up yet is going to start getting better as the season goes on, where you could plug him in a little bit. But you're not going to find him on this team. That's for sure.
If Josh Downs is out there, I would pick up Josh Downs right now.
Exactly.
I would drop Alec Pierce. I ain't sure. Yep. I ain't lying.
Because Josh Downs fits more like Flacco likes. And if Flacco's going to be in there for any amount of time, we don't know, because we still don't know the extent of Richardson's injury. But Flacco is more of a passing, and so all his receivers are going to be okay. And Josh Downs is definitely the number 2 on that team. Pierce is a big play guy, but Josh Downs is the more you're going to get more targets to him. One thing you can count on, sooner or later, Travis Kelce will find his way into the end zone. We've gone 4 weeks, no touchdowns from Travis Kelce. So maybe next week is the week you play Travis Kelce on your FanDuel, because he's got to get a touchdown. I don't know. You just go by odds. I'm not saying to do that, but it's kind of, sometimes you look at it like that. Okay. And the last game on the slate, I think we went through everything. The Sunday night game, I had Baltimore only because Harbaugh just is not going to, he had to be 2-2. For him to go 1-3 was going to shock me. And I think he's a better coach than McDermott. I just do. They showed the Bills something. I mean, we were high on Derrick Henry. He did not disappoint. First play of the game first play for the Ravens.
88
gone. Yeah, bro, gone. I mean, cash. If you had him on Prize Picks to score anytime touchdown, he cashed the very first play of the game. There was a lot going on in this game. The Ravens defense looked good, like we're starting to, become accustomed to everything we've said about Josh Allen needing a number 1. Now, after one game, you're like, because they finally played someone. They've had a soft schedule too. They finally play someone, and look what happens. They get beat on the road. Well, obviously it's on the road. Josh Allen, 180 yards. Cook only 39. He's coming back he plays a real defense now. Cook, Shakir is the only little bright spot, but 4 receptions, 62 yards. This Bills team is not scary to me. I don't see them going deep unless they figure it out. They haven't really played anyone. I would say Baltimore would go deeper, but on the other side, Lamar's just running around. He doesn't use his wide receivers or his tight end. So I'm wondering, is this just going to be Henry and Lamar show, and that's it, and sprinkle in a little flour every now and then, like you're baking, throw a little flowers in there. You know what I'm saying? So entertaining game all in all, but from fantasy, if you're not picking Derrick Henry, you're having trouble. Or Josh Allen even this year has had 2 fantasy bust games already. I don't know if this one was a bust game. You're going to tell us right now, what was the fantasy thing, impact on this game, of this game? What?
San Francisco Giants just fired Zadie and hired Buster Posey for general manager.
Serious?
Yeah.
Let's fucking go. It's about time they got rid of that moron. Bro, you don't want to get me going on the Giants, bro.
Okay,
that's my.
I did. They just came up. I'm sorry. Okay, so
Ivan. Well, hold on. No, there's no edit. No, this is getting out there to those fantasy, to the freaking Bay Area. Everyone knows. You guys may not know about me. I bleed orange and black. I'm a huge San Francisco Giants fan. Huge. And I hate the Dodgers, as any good American San Francisco Giants fan would. And I have been saying since they brought this clown Farhad Zahadi in, they brought him in from the Dodgers. He didn't even win a World Series with all that talent he had with the Dodgers. This guy is a clown. He's a freaking clown. And then they brought in him, and he brings in that other clown to manage the Giants, Gabe Kapler, all those years, who's more worried about where the hell he's going to eat in San Francisco and hiring, progressive staff members on his staff than anything else. That's what his agenda was, and not winning for sure. And so to get Bob Melvin back this year, I was like, okay. And I loved when Texas won with Boch last year because, Boch is still a great manager. And then to fire this clown and Buster Posey, man, you just made my day.
He's the president of baseball operations. President of baseball operations, not GM. President. Buster Posey.
I think he's going to be great at that.
As president of operations. Bob Melvin's probably gone.
I don't know. He might not be.
Maybe not Buster, but he might be gone.
I don't know if he will be, because the team that he was given, I think he got out of it as much as he can get. The Giants have a lot of good young pitching right now. Man,
I can see Buster going to get AJ Przinsky, man. I heard that AJ Przinsky wants to come coach. He wants to go to White Sox. He wanted to coach the Giants. He played with the Giants. I'm hearing a lot of things about AJ Przinsky. But remember, let's get back to Baltimore. We're almost done. 23 fantasy points for Lamar Jackson. Allen, bad game. His first, but not a bad game. Didn't throw no picks. He had a fumble. But 7 fantasy points. Derrick Henry, man, grown man yesterday. 37 fantasy points. He won us some money back. So now we got 2 free tournaments next week because of that man. 8 fantasy points for Shakir. If Shakir's on the waiver wire, he wouldn't be a bad pickup. He's been consistent every week. Kincaid, 7 points, 7 targets, likely. The Baltimore tight ends are lost right now. We don't know. Like Lonnie said earlier, we don't know what's going on. But that was it. Baltimore, I picked Buffalo. I was running with the hot hand, but I was wrong. Baltimore smoked them.
Yeah, Baltimore did get them. And, just to circle back, you don't know what you're going to have this tight end. You have one of the best tight ends in the history of the game, Mark Andrews, and you don't know how to use him. That's pretty sad. You go get this college coach to come in and run your offense, and He doesn't know what to do with the pieces that he has. I mean, they're 2-2 this year. You know, they could easily be 4-0 or 3-1 at least if they just put their offense together properly. So, and that's a stark difference between an Andy Reid team who coaches on both sides. Defense and offense is a priority for Andy Reid. And he knows how to do it because he's just an offensive genius. You know, he's just that guy. But John Harbaugh can't ever get that offensive side nailed down to where when it comes crunch and clutch time, they know how to get through those tough defenses. Andy Reid does. So there was your recap for week 4. It was a very entertaining week. Couple of key injuries that we saw and we talked about. Tonight's the Monday night games. Listen to that show. We have that show. If you listen to our preview, our last podcast, we previewed those 2 games too, so go check that out. You could fast forward all the way to the very end where we get to those games and you'll know what we think about that. I am Lonnie. He is Jake. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you on the next one.